Okay, so we're going to go over windows and doors here real quick. There's not a lot to them, but I just wanted to show you guys a few quick things. So I've got a file set up here, just really basic, a window and a door. These are basic families that you have in your file. This one I've modified a little bit to show you some of the options that you create. If some of the options that you see with the door you like, let me know, and I'll kind of walk you through how to build those options into the door. But we'll also be getting into some of that stuff once we get into the family editor a little bit later on. So let's start with our window. So it's just a basic fixed window. If you don't like this window type, you can change that by going to load, and then over here is windows within your Imperial library. So they've got some already built-in stuff, some double hungs, round, louvers, some of the various stuff like that. If for whatever reason the type that you want isn't here, there are some bunch of different places you can download stuff from. There's obviously some Augi, AUGI, is the official kind of Autodesk website. There's some stuff on there. RevitCity.com has a huge library of stuff. I will caution you that Revit City, while they probably have the largest database worth of downloadable content, you are also downloading stuff that users upload for free, and they're just willing to share willy-nilly. So the quality of the file that you get there isn't always the greatest and can have some bugs and issues to them, but it's not a bad place to start if you're looking for something decent. So if you want something different, you can come in here. Each one of these will have slightly different parameters, but it shouldn't be anything too outrageously different that you can't figure out on the fly. So once we bring this up, I'm going to close that preview panel because we don't really need it for now. But you've got your heights, your widths, stuff like that. This is showing me it's a 36-inch by 48-inch window. If you start to change your height and your width, duplicate it, and I tend to use the annotation like 3/6, so I'm going to be 3/6 wide by, we'll say, 5/0 tall. So that's the annotation that I like to use. You guys can use whatever annotation you want. That way, when it shows up in my list, I know which ones are the ones that I've kind of modified and which ones are the default ones. So I'll hit OK, and now you can see it shows 3/6 by 5/0, and I'll go in here and say, okay, my width is 3/6. Whoops, my height is 5 foot. Hello. There we go. Okay, so then we've got our materials and finishes and things like that here. We can change what the sash color, so your frame and that sort of stuff is. Change the glass to be a little different. This window inset I went over in the introduction just real briefly, but basically what that tells us is where is the glass pane going to sit in relation to the exterior face. So right now it's sitting 3/4 of an inch off. If we make this, say, 2 inches, and I hit OK, now this jumps back quite a bit. And if I come in here and measure this, now it's going to be 2 inches back to the start of my little frame there. So you can start to adjust that, and for various circumstances, it could be nice to have your window recessed back in your wall a little bit. So things like that are things that you can start to play with. Here's your sill height, so you can change your sill height to say 2/6, and that will automatically change your head height. So in various circumstances, you might know your head height, not your sill height, or vice versa. You can change them back and forth, and that'll automatically update the two. Other than that, within this, there's not a lot to mess with here. If you're going to be doing your your sustainability energy analysis stuff, you can select what kind of glazing and what kind of properties that happens to have, double glazing, low E, triple, all of that stuff, what kind of R values and things like that start to change. But we're not worried about that stuff for this class. If you are interested in getting into that, you can come talk to me and I'll tell you all about that kind of stuff. So we'll hit OK, and that's our basics for Windows, not too complicated. So doors, a little different. So I've got this door here. One of the properties that I have built into this door that you will not have in your doors is this little thing here, this dimension, the swing angle. So I've built into this file the ability to change what my doors look like in plan. So whether I want it to be a 45, a 60, all of that stuff, that starts to be adjustable, so that if I get a situation where, let's move this down here, and I have two doors that are kind of backed up to each other, graphically I can start to say, okay, I want these to be 45 and I want this to be a 45. And so then they start to graphically read a little bit better, as opposed to if these were both 90, they would overlap each other. So I have that parameter built in here just for my own sake. Yours will default to 90. It's not a problem. If you don't mind that, go for it. It's not a big deal. So same thing with doors as with windows. You got your head height, you've got your sill height, so you can adjust that up and down if you need to. This frame material and stuff, it's not where you select your finish and stuff. Same thing here. These are just annotative spots for scheduling and things like that. You can type in different stuff there. But where you would go to change the actual rendered material of your door and frame are within your type properties here. So under materials and finishes, this is where you can get into your material editor and change all the different stuff here. So similarly to Windows, you've got a bunch of stuff here. You've got the thickness of your door. 2 inches is pretty thick. We'll drop that down to 1.5 inches. And when I hit apply, you'll see these get a little bit thinner. Height, so your standard doors are usually 6'8". Trim projections, so that's your trim on either side. It doesn't show up in plan. It just starts to get muddied if you have too many things in here. So, but that's something that'll show up in elevation and renderings and stuff, is what your trim projection is. But we'll also get into the idea of getting rid of that entirely and putting your own trim profiles and stuff like that into your models. Tends to make your renderings look a little more customized and that sort of stuff, and you get to control what all of that looks like. So we'll get into that a little bit later. And then this is also your default trim width. Your default trim is just a 1x piece of wood. So it's nothing too spectacular, but it has it built in there. So then our width too, if I jump this up to 3.6 and hit apply, all of this gets bigger. So that kind of stuff is all similar to your windows and doors and everything, or windows and doors is similar. Your rough width, rough height, same with windows, is just a text field. You can punch numbers in there for scheduling purposes, so you can tell people in the field, hey, I want the rough opening of this 2 inches bigger than what the actual door is, so I can get my jamb and shims and all of that stuff in between the stud and the door and all of that stuff for leveling and things like that. But if you don't want something standard, you can punch that in and show them via a schedule. Same analytical kind of stuff as the window. So if you want to talk about that, we can. But other than that, for windows and doors, that's about it.